Thank you very much for joining us for this extra Pulp Kitchen fun. George, how do you feel about seeing a film on a Sunday evening?
I think I'm okay with that.
Going to the cinema to see a film?
I think I'm okay with
I
that.
quite like it.
I mean, Sunday evenings are a strange time. And I think, how do you beat the sort of low-key Sunday scaries? Maybe it's a good thing.
Scaries. Sunday Scaries.
Meet the Scaries with Scaries. Yes. There we go.
I mean, I don't particularly get Sunday Scaries, but I was like, yeah, we're having our own Sunday Scaries. We're choosing a time when people usually shelter at home. They nest, they reset, they clean, they shower, they wash their hair, they do their exfoliator. I instead went out, braved into the cold when I was feeling a little bit poorly. You do none of those things. Yeah. Feeling a bit poorly. Went to go see with Horror Amy, of course. Who else but Horror Amy?
Friend
to go see. Friend of the show, friend in real life.
I would just say, by the way, Horror Amy, like, really into the quite severe things. I'll see things and I'll go, oh, that was scary. And she'll go, nah.
I've seen horrifying things with Horror Amy. Which is fun because she doesn't get scared easy. But
I'll say
we do get scared, and it does happen.
Anyway,
talking about Wolf Man, 2025 film directed by Lee Winnell, who is Blumhouse, wrote Saw, was in Saw 1, and directed Saw. Has directed some other things, went to go and do a little bit more writing, and has now come back to direct.
Did The Invisible Man as well.
Film, The Invisible Man as well. I'm sure has made loads of money from the Saw franchise. Very happy for Lee Winnell. Wolfman, Universal monster legend of Hollywood, right?
Oh.
I can't say I've seen no other Wolfman films. If you want a sort of commentary on how this compares to all of those other films, this really isn't that. I just saw this as a lovely horror fan, a punter at the cinema, looking for a bit of Sunday Scary.
Obviously not failing to mention the wolf in Van Helsing. Werewolves in that. That's probably my only cinematic exposure to werewolves.
Twilight.
Oh yes, of course. I've never seen them.
I've seen them.
Anyway, sorry, James.
No, not at all. It really made me think about werewolves.
Werewolves? They're wolves.
Harry Potter, the 3.
Yeah.
Lupin, spoilers. Starring Christopher Abbott, we open in the gorgeous forested Oregon countryside. A young, not Christopher Abbott, but Blake is a child, is out hunting for deer with his father, and they stumble upon a very strange presence in the woods. It's not quite a bear, and we're treated to this lovely prologue horror sequence where they hear something and see something and nearly die, essentially, from a being that is clearly of the wrong energy. It is not of this known animal encyclopedia that we have. We get quite a nice chilling sequence. There's a very complex criticizing relationship between father and son. We then cut 30 years into the future, where Christopher Abbott is a father himself to a young daughter, Ginger, played by Matilda Firth, and he gets a letter in the post that is the death certificate of his father, who is now, he always suspected that he would have died because he stopped hearing from him, but now it is certain he knows that his dad has died. He is with his wife, Julia Garner, who they have the child with, played by wife Charlotte, played by Julia Garner. And, she's asking me, how do you feel about your dad being gone? And he's like, I always kind of knew it. I guess it's a little bit weird. And they come up with this idea, hey, why don't we go to my dad's cabin in Oregon? Why don't we just take some time off and go and spend the summer there? It might be quite nice to disconnect.
Might it?
And there we go forth into what is essentially, plot details, this is a cabin in the woods, family running from a monster in the house, and that's how the film takes place. I will say I had horror in my mind when I went to go and see it, but as I watched the film I was like, yeah, this is horror, this is scary, this has some good sequences in it. The Wolfman is a legendary monster that when you see on screen, I'm like, of course I've seen this style of prosthetic and like the anamorphing of human and wolf into this. I've seen that before, and it's all very familiar and fun.
Oh, sorry.
No, please.
Have you ever seen An American Werewolf in London?
No.
Good movie, scary and funny. There you go.
Great, love that. This was not funny. It was very somber. It was very dour. It was very moody. And I had the feeling it was Lee Winnell saying, this is a Wolfman film. I want to be true to what a Wolfman film is. I'm not going to bring much levity or much lightness to this. I want to bring horror and this monster back to the screen. So this film had a couple of really good scares. I think it had 2 really good scares where me and even Horror Amy were priming ourselves to be scared. And then it scared us in a very particular way, and it worked. And I thought, do you know what? Great. I was suitably unsettled for most of the film. The problem with it is that the writing is kind of lacking in a certain dynamism, and some of the plot itself is very uninteresting, especially between the scenes where the Wolfman is there. Without spoiling it, one of our main characters loses the ability to speak quite early on in the film.
Right.
And I felt from that moment, it became, especially in between the horror sequences, a little bit of a slog and a bit depressing and a bit dark. Of course, it's a horror film. I'm not expecting it to start cracking jokes in between it. But something about it needed a little injection of dynamism and to take it out of something that I think is a little bit monotone. And that's where I think the film falls down. It's very one note. There's some nice ideas in here about being a parent and what we do to protect our children from the horrible monsters. We sometimes become a monster ourselves in trying to protect them. There's a nice idea that maybe that links to the older films. I'm not the person who's seen them. But yeah, it's solid. It's a little bit dour. At times it felt like a little bit of a slog. But for a very casual horror experience, it was scary. Which is always to me like, you know, at the end of the day, if you did manage to scare me and you caught me out and I was expecting it and I watched a decent amount of horror, I think you've done a half decent job there. I don't think I'm going to be talking about it for many weeks after this. I don't think I'm going to have remembered it at the end of the year when we do a roundup. But Wolfman, fairly solid, decent performances. Script needs a little bit of work. Would have injected some dynamism in it. It's only just over 100 minutes, so it didn't waste too much of my time. But Wolfman.
So like, it's like a comedy has to be funny. A comedy's got to have a few jokes in it.
Exactly.
A comedy's got to make you laugh.
Yeah.
And a horror film's got to scare you. And it scared you enough times.
Yeah. It decently scared me. Jumped and kicked the screen away.
Oh,
You know when you do that? Get it out of my face. You're one of those. So like, I totally give it to you. It's like if you've seen lots of horror, you know the tricks of like show and reveal. Tease with one thing. We were ready for the one thing on one side, and then it didn't happen, and then it was right there, and that was brilliant. So it worked. It's just very depressing and death and fathers and deteriorating and just all of that. So I'd be interested to see if other people enjoyed it or were scared by it. But I bet if you saw this in the cinema, you would have been kicking for safety in a couple of times. So that is The Wolfman. As always, send in your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com and we will read them out on the show. Yes.
Wolfman or The Wolfman?
Just Wolfman. Wolf space man.
They made The Wolfman with Benicio del Toro in 2010, which was set in like Victorian England, which
Yeah.
looked good, but I've never actually seen it, and I don't think it is good. But it's got that's. Tell you what,
I've just seen here, by the
I'm
way,
gonna
this
read
is
the cast
produced by Ryan Gosling.
oh,
Also, the film's plot, very predictable. Any twists that were there, you could see cut just based on pure logic of like the characters involved. And you mentioned a thing, so therefore it must turn on later. It's like, well, okay.
good if you've never seen a movie.
Which
before.
is also a thing like which is very dour, and there's not much dynamism between the scary films. I'm not like in suspense about the plot. Do you understand?
Yeah, The Wolfman from 2010 had Benicio del Toro, Anthony Hopkins, Emily Blunt, Hugo Weaving.
Hugo Weaving, yeah, that's one.
32% on Rotten Tomatoes, $150 million budget.
Oh, so this had a $25 million budget.
Well, fair enough.
$150 million.
I know, look at it. And that came out 15 years ago.
Yeah, I remember that poster. God, yeah.
Shame. Anyway, that was Wolfman. Not like First Man or Better Man.
No.
We now have Wolfman. If you have seen it, as James said, send in your thoughts to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com.
And also, guys, don't forget to check out the main episode this week where we got the chance to review A Complete Unknown and The Brutalist. Plus, before our review, we included a snippet of our interview with Brady Corbett, who is the director, writer, and producer of that film, which is really great to see. We also read some emails from your opinions about it. But if you have already checked it out and you've now seen those films, don't forget to write in as well to hello@pulpkitchenpodcast.com, as well as go and check out the Patreon if you want to do Double Take, which is our exclusive news show. It's all there for you guys. Go and check it out. We'll be in Sundance now. By the time you're listening to this.
By the time this drops, snowy Sundance.
We'll be in Sundance. So check out our social media feed. Next week's episode will be us in Sundance reporting to you live.
You referencing our own impressions there. Live from Canada. Guys, have a great week.
Take care.
Take care.